Richard Listen Show, live from our new location, All Access, and I'm echoing, but we'll roll with that. Today is an exciting day. We deal with all kinds of change and high performers here, and today I'm honored to be finally in our new location. Thanks for all our listeners who've been patient in the last month as we transitioned, just like we introduce you to high performers and athletes who deal with all kinds of change. We also had to adjust to our new home, and so thank you for being patient with us. Today is exciting. It's been an interesting month. We're here, of course, with our co-host, Caitlin Patricia Weiler.
Hello.
She's finally settling into her new abode and made the drive up to be here with us today. Today we're entering into the realm of comedy. I'm hoping to ask a little bit about some ringside commentary as well, being a former WWE fan, maybe current too. We'll see what Phil can get out of me. Today's guests have some new and exciting news to bring to us as well. Today in studio we have Mr. Phil Medina and Modsky, his friend and new co-partner in their own radio station, I believe. So they're going to be sharing a little bit with us what it's like to be a comedian, get on stage, perform, be at your best when you're not at your best, and a little bit about what they're working on. But first, Caitlin, how are you doing?
Doing wonderful. How are you?
Good.
Minus putting on all those miles, right? Driving all around California.
Yeah. Does your energy drink provide a mileage exemption, or how's that working?
They're giving me extra miles through energy, right?
So, without further ado, welcome and thanks for joining us here, Phil Medina and Modsky.
Of course, man. Thanks for having us. This is a beautiful studio. It's really nice. It's we're not used to anything like this.
We aren't either. We're going to get used to it, though, right?
We live in Oxnard, and our studio is actually in a trap house. So this is kind of cool. And yeah, man. When you said top performing athletes, I was like, I would think we're on the wrong show.
What did Citric get us into?
Yeah, because we just had McDonald's.
And that's right. You guys are connected with Citric, and he was amazing on the show. He came on, and we did his whole new rap video. So that was, amazing for us, because here's someone who's been out there and acting and yet is trying to go into different ventures. So when we talk about high performers, it's like, probably for you guys it's natural. If you get on stage, I've seen some of your comedy bits and YouTube clips, and maybe some of that's just like becomes old hat. But for us and for our listeners, they want to know, like, how do you get up there and gear up?
Yes, because that's on my bucket list to do stand-up comedy, and
Really?
It's pretty scary.
I would change that bucket list. I would, I don't know, like go to the Great Wall of China or something.
Well, I've done all those kind of things.
Yeah,
I want something different.
But comedy is scary.
Well, just having enough, because you have to be able to talk on the fly, and you've got the pressure. If you're not making all the people laugh, then what do?
You better start doing cartwheels or something. You know what? It's different. And speaking of Cedric, real quick, Cedric actually made his stand-up comedy debut this past Saturday.
Yes,
I saw that on Instagram.
He made his stand-up comedy debut, and I'm the executive producer for a brand new stand-up series that is going to be airing on a website, NotYourAverageComedy.com. And Citric, we gave Citric a spot, and I would have to say he did very well.
He did very well, yes.
Yeah, he did really good. So I mean, overall, we're like, Citric is like the jack of all entertainment trades. Citric was on. I don't know if he talked about this. Did he mention he was on Sábado Gigante?
No. Our producer Albert did mention that, but we didn't get to it.
That is so dope, because that is actually like the Tonight Show in Spanish in Mexico.
Really?
And that guy featured on that. Yeah, it's a huge thing.
As a rapper, as a Spanish rapper.
Yeah.
Before the acting.
Before he became a male model, that's what he did. And but for you to want to do stand-up comedy, that's amazing. And whenever you're ready, you let me know, and I'll give you the stage time.
Oh my God! Awesome pressure, right?
Oh yeah, because I will be like, if you do well, I'll be the first one to be, Congratulations. If
And
you
if
don't
I
do well, I will be the first one to be like, boo!
What they do, they took that hook right, they pull you right off the stage.
No, somebody died doing that. We can't do that anymore.
Oh, okay.
That's a pending lawsuit
Thank
right
God.
now.
Yeah, I went through my 9 lives.
So that's a joke, but that's a good point, right? Because like, did Citric come to you and say, hey, like, I want to know how I'm doing? You know, I want the feedback right away. I mean, how do you do that as comics with one another?
I'm kind of like I was being too nice for a long time, and Cedric did well. I told Cedric he did well, and I'd be doing no favors to him if he didn't do well, and I told him he did well. But he did really good. Comics today, though, it's weird. I've been doing this for 10 years. So comics today, they're would you say they're like a little full of themselves? Not the guys who've been doing it for a while. The new up and comer guys who are still doing open mics and stuff. I have been in a couple comedy clubs where they're high fiving each other after an open mic. Talking about killed it. I'm like, you can't kill an open mic. You can kill a regular show at the Improv, but. So no. Now I'm at the point where I'll tell somebody if they suck. And if they want to keep doing my shows, I'm like, well, you got to get better. If you don't get better, then you're kind of wasting my time, the audience's time, your time. Go home and get your shine box, Just it's time to step it up.
So how do you deal with that? Because it's tough. Clearly, being in front of an audience, you want that approval. The self-esteem is a fragile thing. We want to feel like we're improving. So how do you help a young comic develop that skin to be like open to feedback, open to mentorship, and yet getting a little bit of a pat in the back along the way?
Well, the first thing I'd tell them is probably don't quit their job at McDonald's. And then the first thing I would probably tell, Monsky's only been doing comedy a year. So, and he comes on the road with me a lot. So almost all the time for that whole year.
All the time, man.
So mentoring him has been like kind of a special thing because he listens. He takes the constructive criticism. He takes the feedback. But the best thing to tell a young comic is don't go up there and just want to just destroy and just kill the room. You actually learn a lot more bombing. So fail.
Right.
Fail. It's okay to fail. What is it? Fail often. Fail early.
Fail forward.
Fail forward. Because if you fail, you'll get a life lesson out of that. You'll learn hey, it's probably not okay to tell that joke. And if you fail as much as you can, within a year or two, you're going to be real good because you know what you're not going to do up there. So, yeah.
And you just touched on a key to performance psychology because they teach that in all kinds of sports, right? If Yasiel Puig, gets 3 hits out of 10, right? He's a Hall of Famer, right?
Right.
So how do you teach that in baseball, right? Like we got to learn how to shake off the strikeouts or the errors. Now, for a comedian, though, how do you encourage that to go from what you're describing, like, hey, I'm so excited that I just did my 5-minute set at all for, just my friends who are going to approve of me, to go into a place where you're willing to fail?
Well, that was something that with Monsky especially, he did his first show. Most guys start off in a bar. That's where I started, in a bar in Madera, California. You guys might have even heard of that town. But it does exist. All 13 people are there. But Monsky started off at Levity Live in front of 500 people. And they knew who he was because of our podcast. So they knew who he was. He did really well. And I'm like, okay, now I'm going to take you on the road with me. And now we're going to see how you do in El Paso, Texas.
But I tell people are like, "Oh my God, you've only been in comedy for 1 year." But I've been doing online radio for 5 years. I used to host hip hop shows, so I've been on stage a lot. I have done that, just not the comedy side. So it's not like one day I was at McDonald's and the next day I was doing comedy in front of 500 people. That people have to understand that.
That's what happened?
Well, I even think of it as that arena for comedy. As an actress, you constantly fail forward all the time because you fail a million times more than you actually succeed.
Right.
And but in this arena, you're doing that failure in front of you said hundreds or thousands of people versus one person.
Exactly. And so you have to be able to be okay with failing, and I think that's where a lot of false sense of accomplishment comes from these newer comics that don't know that they failed, that are they got 1 or 2 smatters of applause or they think that's good. It's no, dude, that's not good. Fail, go ahead, it's okay. Especially with this new generation of kids, it's not okay to fail because everything on Instagram says it's awesome, and so they don't know how to fail. And that's kind of a sad thing because this upcoming generation that we have of performers or athletes, they don't know how to fail. And that's kind of scary.
Because the minute you get negative feedback, getting cues from our new studio here. We're all like, so please adjust your seat.
I don't think it does.
I think you have to stand up and then it'll do it.
Yeah.
I stole one of those chairs.
So we're talking about, fear of getting criticism.
Hold on.
There we go.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
There you go. How many comics does it take to fix a ergonomic chair?
One for sure.
I didn't make that one up myself. But in order to be willing to fail, guys, there's got to be a motivation, right? There's got to be something driving you that's beyond like just approving the 5 people in Madeira, because otherwise even that's scary, right? When your bar is really low. So what got you motivated? Was there something early on?
Super hilarious.
Yeah.
This is what it was. I had no intention of being a stand-up comic. Didn't want to do it. I saw a comedian one time that was opening for Gabriel Iglesias in another small town in Hanford, California, and I was like, that guy's so funny. I think I can do that. And that was like in 2001. Then I kind of just forgot about it. I was young. I was like 20 years old. I was like, nah, whatever. And then I had just passed all my tests to be a California State Correctional Officer. And I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. And then something happened, and it didn't go through. So what ended up happening was this guy who does stand, I think he still does it. He was like, hey, you're funny. Let me have you host a show. And I was like, no, that's so dumb. Like, why would I want to do that and embarrass myself?
Who was this guy? Had just a friend of yours?
I kind of don't even want to mention his name because he's kind of, it's like, he hates my guts now because like he's still doing like the open mics after all these years. And so whatever. But anyway,
he picked up on a skill of yours.
Yeah, well, he was just like, hey, you're funny. I'm like, I don't want to do this. It's so dumb, but I did it. And that led to the last 10 years of just failing and picking yourself up and driving forward, because once you get in the entertainment industry, the minute that you have the passion to do it, it's all you. That's all you want to do. You live, eat, breathe this business, and if you can't do that, you're not cut out for this. That's really, I mean, you're an actress as well, so you know what I'm talking about. Yep. If you don't if this is not the first thing you think about. I mean, there's times I have lost many relationships because of this. I have missed many birthdays because of this. I have missed anniversaries because of this. But this is what I love more than anything in this world. Mm-hmm. I've gotten like horrible news, right? Like 10 minutes where I'm supposed to go on stage and get a standing ovation because this is what I love.
So that's a good lead in. Yeah, I mean, how do you deal with that when life intersects with your need to perform for others? Yeah, how do you kind of
get yourself the back burner?
Up?
I was saying you flip a switch, right?
It's a switch.
I've had to do it too, and it's not easy. But if you don't have that skill, you can't survive.
You can't, and that's the thing, and that is the exact same thing. If you don't have that it factor, you won't survive. I mean, this is all I do. I don't have a regular job. Well, I guess kind of now, but before, I mean, I left the grocery industry, which, making $75,000 a year to come do this. That's a leap, So, but you have that instinct to be able to survive. So that's what drives me. That's what drove me as not wanting to get up at 4:00 in the morning every day to go to make someone else's dream a reality. It was time to make my dream a reality.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, maybe it's become natural for you because you do it for so long, but is there something in that, hour before show you got some bad news? Like, do you check in with Modeski? Do you got something you get in front of the mirror? I mean, is mantra something that, you could share with our listeners who are like, man, I'm terrified of the next open mic?
I definitely, Modeski's like my right-hand guy. Like, he is, he makes sure that, like, right before there's a show, that he's out there. I mean, if you could watch him, he's making sure roadblocks are out of the way before I get even into the building, because he's making sure everything's like clear and ready to go. Because the last thing he wants is like to have to deal with.
Because this Phil that you see right now is not the Phil at a show. He's a whole different person. He's
Especially when I'm producing.
Yes.
So is it roadblocks like people trying to talk to you? Is it roadblocks like your water's not where you need it to be?
No. Not even like that.
It's not like that.
No, nothing like that. It's just if there's something that could hinder a show, like, hey, we just lost ticket sales, or we just lost this, or the sound's not right. I mean, we had an issue this weekend where the sound was not right, and he did everything he could until I had to get involved, and then when I have to get involved.
Watch out.
Yeah,
It's not funny anymore.
No, because when it comes to this business, I also have a type A personality, and when you're dealing with people that don't, it's incredibly stressful, and it's incredibly like, why are you even working for me right now if you can't get this task done? Maybe I should just do it myself. I'm that guy. I'm a total dick. But it's just, it's just to get yourself in that right state of mind. Like for instance,
right.
This past weekend we had a comic just cancel. He said, "Hey, I can't make it. I'm not feeling well." I'm like, "You're like closing the show. So what am I supposed to do?" And if it wasn't for Monsky like saying, "Dude, this is supposed to happen. You're supposed to close it," and I'm like, "But I'm already producing. Like I can't stop what I'm doing to." But again, it's a switch.
And what happened when you went on the stage on Friday night?
I did all right.
He did amazing. He did amazing.
I did all right. So there is that switch that you have to turn on, and you have to just say, tunnel vision.
But that's a good plan, because that happened to me this weekend with coaching soccer, a last second change, and I nearly like lost my brain.
Right.
I mean, when you perform and you prepare,
Right.
yeah. How do you deal with that with the people you work with last second changes? I mean, like, do you try and use the same people to open or close? I mean, how do you keep the routine solid so you have as much control as you can?
In this situation, there was we didn't foresee this coming. We didn't know. I think we found out around 5:00, and showtime was at 7. That we had this unfortunate issue, and we did everything we could. So I was like, well, Monsky will just go in and close it. So you always have to be ready to perform at the drop of a hat. I mean, whether it's like, oh, I'm so tired, like, oh man, this happened today, I got in a car accident, or you're fighting with a spouse. It's like, oh, time to perform. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Phil and Tina here.
So do you draw upon those personal things to, like, how do you decide like what topics are going to get the greatest relatability from your audience?
Actually, at this point in the game, I do a lot of crowd work, so I talk to the audience a lot. Because I'm like, I've got a knack for just being an incredible smartass. And like, I will just take a subject and I'll just ask you a question. Like, how long have you been in your relationship? How long have you're married? Are you married?
Yes.
How long have you been married?
16 years.
Really? I'm so sorry to hear that. And I'm sorry to hear that because, like, that's a long time. And see, like, right now she feels uncomfortable, but I can.
I can't hide here.
That's a very long time to be married. And we're just gonna, because you're giving me an eye right now.
It's all right.
Because I have to go home tonight. She's amazing. I got it. But no, I don't like to talk about like topics that are in the news right now. That's boring. Everybody does that. I want to tell you about me, and I want to know about you. And then I'll give you my advice.
That's so refreshing, though, because I feel like that's rare that we hear that anymore. And yes,
right.
And we lose that connection because we have a different kind of connection with all the social media happening.
Right.
So when you're doing live shows, like, that's something that's still kind of saved, from all this other stuff that we have going on.
Right.
Yeah, because I don't want to. Listen. CNN or Fox News has already told you what to think. I don't want to talk about that. I'm pretty selfish. I want to talk about me. So that's what we're gonna do for the hour that I'm talking, and that's basically what it is. And even with Monsky now that he's doing comedy, the one piece of advice I gave him is like, don't talk about topics. Talk about you. Talk about your son. By the way, He's a United States Marine Corps combat vet.
That's right.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
That's
what we're talking about. You, Phil. Yourself.
Yeah, he's trying to bring it back. But both of you have done work. Did I have that right? That you used to?
He was in the Old Navy.
Yeah.
He did that.
Oh, the
I was in
Old
the Old Navy
Navy?
for 4 years. Saw a lot of action in that store in Fresno.
No, but who used to do shows?
I did shows for the United States Army at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas, 4 years in a row.
Yeah.
So those were some of the best shows I ever did.
See, we did work this back into being about Phil. You see,
Yes,
that was
yes.
I give them a little, I just take it right back. I'm like, not yet, son.
So that's incredible. What was that like? They look forward to that. Was it around holiday events? or-
Actually, it was in the summer, and I don't know if you've ever been to El Paso in the summer. Joke was on me. All right, it's really
Performing
hot.
in an oven.
Yeah, and I grew up in a very hot part of the country, but this was like a different kind of hot. It's like it's hard. Have you ever turn the oven on and just open it oh shit?
Too hot.
Yeah, but there was no cookies baking, so it was just really disgusting. And but it's a dry heat. I don't even know what that means, but it's awful. So but to entertain the United States Army, and they were just coming back from Afghanistan or Iraq. I don't remember where they were coming back from. They were just coming back, so. To work with it, they're like, "Oh, you're so funny." I'm like, "Me? Let's not even talk about me." I go, "You guys are awesome," and then they got me really drunk. I woke up at a Whataburger at 4 a.m, and then I woke up again in Fresno. And then that was, and I had lost a shoe.
They must have really liked your show. Huh?
I went back 3 more years, but it was crazy. But it was a great experience to work with those people that were just you can't tell them thank you enough for doing what they're doing. So working with him, it's amazing because he's got that intestinal fortitude to drive forward. When I feel like God, I cannot do this today. He's been on the road and they're like, dude, this sucks. This is not fun. And he just cheers everything up.
And you served in Afghanistan?
In Iraq.
In Iraq.
Yeah, I was in the Marine Corps from 2000 to 2004. So in 2003, I was in Iraq for 8 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how has that motivated you or shaped you into comedy?
I always tell people the comedy. I wouldn't say that shaped me into comedy. It definitely gave me discipline. But I always told people that the Marine Corps was easy compared to the way I was raised. My mom was very disciplined. So when we're doing boot camp, I was like, "You got? This is all you got?" My mom treated me worse, but but I love her because of her.
Sorry.
But because of her, I am disciplined. And I'm able to. I think that's where I'm at now. Is because I'm able to help people that are maybe need a little help sometimes.
Yeah, that's real talk. There's been times I can't even brush my teeth, and he's just right there with the toothbrush. Does he
hit you with did he take that other shoe? Does he hit you with
No, he's never hit me yet. It's coming eventually.
It's coming for sure.
It's coming. Yeah, there's going to be a day he's just going to you remember that Full Metal Jacket where they got the soap and they just beat the fat guy with it?
Oh,
it's
Private
coming.
Pile. I watched that the other night.
It's happening.
But seriously, within the Corps, right? There's a need amongst tense times amongst combat for somebody to be the one who brings levity and tells jokes. Was that your role? Did you find it?
Absolutely. And it's funny because a lot of people, my brothers from the Marine Corps still follow me, and they're just like, we knew you would do something like that because back in the Marine Corps you wouldn't shut up. You know what I mean? So so they're like, we saw this coming, we believe it. We can see you doing it. So yeah, that was me. In high school, I was a class clown. My whole life, I was always told you should be a comic. But I was like you. I was like, I can be funny right here, but being on stage and having a mic and having people staring at you make me laugh. I'm like, that was scary. I don't want to do that. Then I met this gentleman right here.
He uses that term loosely.
I did online radio. I still do it. We still do podcasts and stuff like that. And mutual friends hey, there's a comic. He's funny. You should interview him. So we interviewed and we became best friends immediately. And right away he's like, you should do comedy. And I was like, nope. So it took you about a year to get me on stage, and here we are.
Yeah, and I've done some pretty messed up stuff to him on the road and things. I took him to do that show in El Paso at
yeah.
Fort Bliss. And there's not. The room was filled with army, current army soldiers.
So Phil had the great idea. It's like, you should tell him that you were a Marine.
I was joking. I didn't think he was going to do it. The first thing he did was like, United States Marine Corps combat vet. They just like stopped and just glared at him like, you think you're better than us? Like, that's what he got. And
that to date is still my worst show. Talking about awkward. I did my at the time I was doing 5 minutes and not one laugh. It was just like,
wow.
I'm like, thanks, Phil.
And he set it up perfect for me though. Thanks.
He did great.
Yeah, they were just. I was like, oh wow, don't ever listen to me. I'm drunk.
So you wanted him to have physically uncomfortable conditions and to be completely rejected.
Yeah, people need to understand that happens in life.
Right.
So he needed to understand that was his time.
And how did you prepare for that first time on stage? Like, how long did it take you? How much advice did you get? How much was original?
I'll be honest. My whole set, the way I got my set is because we travel a lot. You know what I mean? Like we were traveling for about a year, and hours in the car we're talking and we talk about like our past, and I'm like, oh, my son did this or this happened to me, and he's like, dude, that is so funny.
And that's a joke.
You gotta use that. Yeah. So that's basically how I got my set, and just by listening to other people do comedy online and stuff like that, I kind of structured my thing. But before I went on stage, at one time I was like, this is my set, and he was like, okay, sounds good, and I was like, okay.
There was a reason why I did that though. He kept trying to read the set to me, and I would kind of brush him off, if you notice.
Yeah, of course.
I was doing that on purpose because I didn't want to hear it because I was busy.
And when you play Mario Kart on your
I didn't want to hear it because with
the unwritten rules of Phil Medina.
Right, like don't bother me when I'm playing Mario Kart. It's I told him and now I'll tell you because I keep forgetting to tell you this. It's been a year, so I might as well tell you right now. The reason I didn't want to hear, and it's just I did the same thing to Cedric, but I was a little nicer with Cedric because he kills somebody. I was a little bit nicer.
Guy.
He's a sweetheart, but you have to listen. My approval on your jokes doesn't mean anything. Go up there and tell them. I'm not going to be able to tell you because I tell my joke one way. I tell it a certain way. I talk about my life. Go up there and tell your story. There's nothing I can do to help you at this point. You've already committed. You're set. That's why I just threw you out there. It's and you did well.
Right.
Because if you don't do well that first time, what are you going to do? You're going to get discouraged. And just like
That's
Cedric.
why it's called beginner's luck.
Yeah, and it's Cedric, same thing. Cedric did great his first time. I don't know how he's going to do his second time. I mean...
Does he want you there? Does he ask you to be there?
Actually, I've already booked him for another show because
Nice.
he's really... Cedric's such a great guy, and he deserves all of the great things that come to him.
Right.
So, and I think that he's going to do very well in this business. Just like I was so... with Monsky, we actually, when we film those shows for that website, we actually make sure that the comic is seasoned. So I wasn't going to put him on for the 2 years. I was like, we've only been doing this a year. But it didn't really come up. And then I just thought about it. I said, hey, you think you can handle this? And he's like, yeah, of course I can. I said.
And inside I was like, oh my God, I'm going to screw this up.
So what was that? So you're saying you were like, I can do this before the show with the Army?
No, this was for the television taping this past weekend. He was just, I told him, I said, if you think you're ready, I'll put you up and we'll do it. And I was very surprised because I knew he was going to do okay, but he did very well. And to have that in him, he did great. He did really good. Same thing with Cedric. He did, when the pressure was on those guys, they can handle it. There's a lot of people that want to pretend to be in the show business industry and they can't handle it. They can't handle the pressure. That's why Instagram's a great way to fake it till you make it, I guess. I don't know. But he's 100% on his way to doing some great things, along with Cedric.
Right on. There's nothing better than having a mentor and someone who's willing to...
I'm also going to be the demise of their career. I know
You're setting them up.
I'm going to destroy it as well.
Oh, yeah. I'm that guy who will just like, you guys are doing good. It's over. No, they're going to do a lot of good things.
But in all seriousness, how do you bounce back from that? So you get out there, your first 5 minutes is like, oh, man, I just bombed it. You know, what did you draw upon? Like, how did you go back to the well and get back out there?
Well, like you said, my first time being on stage was at Levy Live in front of 500 people, and I did very, very well. You know, so I already had that taste of doing well. You know, so and I've done how many shows did I do before that El Paso show? I've done quite a bit of shows before.
I put you up in Vegas and
I had a few shows before that El Paso situation. You know what I mean? So I already had a taste of like, hey, you know, if these people think I'm funny, more people are gonna think I'm funny. You know what I mean? So I was just like, and he says that we all go through it. You know what I mean? Especially as new as I was at the time. Still to this day, I'm still ready. You know, not to do well. You just never know. But just drawing from the successes I've already had.
That's an important point. So you don't internalize. If one group is not laughing, it's not like it's not me. It's maybe it was this show, maybe it was the mic, maybe it's the sound. I mean,
it is me because I'm the comedian. You know what I mean? I take full responsibility, but at the same time, every audience is different. You know what I mean? And the fact, yes, we're all in the for people that are not in the military. Yes, we're all in the military. Yes, we're all fight for the USA. But there's a little chip on shoulders when you're in the Marines, you're in the Army, you're in the Air Force. You know what I mean? So I was like, I'm in the Marines.
They were waiting the whole time for you to just bash them or something, you know?
I don't know. They just wanted me to fail, I guess.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. And that's the thing, though. You just hit on it right now. A good performer will always take accountability and say, no matter what, that was my fault. If I sucked and I bombed, that's my fault because I'm the one with the mic. I'm the one with the material coming out. If they didn't laugh, that's on me. That's not on anybody else. You can never blame the audience or the casting director. I auditioned for a TV show. I just ate it. And I knew from the beginning they didn't like me. But that was my fault. I was underprepared. I should have been a little more. I still got a call back. But
he's very critical of himself. He does amazing. He's like, I suck. Every time he gets off stage, I suck.
There's a reason for that, too. And that might be a psychology thing because it's like, I can't stand people who pat themselves on the back. Because the minute you become your own biggest fan, you have peaked. You're done. It's over. And I've only been doing this 10 years. And so I still got a long way to go. So if I'm my own biggest critic, I will continue to grow no matter if I get the standing ovations or whatever happens. I'm still going to grow. I'm not going to stop.
So where does that come from for you? Who was your biggest critic, or did you see?
Next
question.
We can't talk about that.
Next question.
No, it comes from home. It comes from the way you're raised. Just you as you're a child, you're just the way I was brought up is just constant critiquing. Constant. Not as much love, but a lot of critiquing. Which I know my parents loved me. It wasn't that. But anyway. It wasn't that. It wasn't that. It was a lot of critiquing. I mean, that's what it is. That was what that generation did. And which I'm better for it now because now I get to go out and live my dreams. So that's it. I mean,
were they accepting when you were like, I want to do comedy? Did they get it?
I think they were. My dad was more like he was a big comedy fan. Like we were 5 years old watching Andrew Dice Clay. Yeah. So and you do that now. CPS is at the house checking out everything. But no, we were 5 years old watching Dice Clay. My dad is a huge stand-up fan. So for his son, and I don't think they really bought into what I was doing until early this year. They drove from their home. They live in a different state. Came all the way to Levity Live Oxnard, and it was sold out. And they got to see me perform.
It was your birthday show.
Yeah, it was my birthday show, and it was phenomenal. Then they're like, "Oh, shit, no wonder." So that's where they're now. They're on board. Now they're on board. I mean, because I've even been in a short film and stuff, and I don't think they really got it until they came live.
Never, and I feel like I still haven't had that you got it moment.
Right.
Certain people for it to click. What are you doing with all your time?
Exactly. When I jumped into professional wrestling, when I started in the wrestling industry in 1998, they were like, "You're not doing this." I was like 18 years old. They're like, "No, you're not. You're gonna go to college. I'm like, but this is not what I want to do. I don't want to go to college. I want to do this." And they were like, "No, I did what I did, and I went to the training camps, and I did the matches and everything, and then I was like, okay, I'm done. This hurts, and you have to be in like top physical shape to do this. And I was just a little chubby kid. Now I'm a fat adult, but I mean I don't know why you keep asking, but it's.
So this was the Lucha Extreme experience?
This was actually something in 1998 where I went to become a professional wrestler.
Wow!
And the Lucha Extreme thing happened on a whim. Like, that was so weird how that thing happened. That was in 2015. I was promoting a show, and we had like 500 people in the building, and those guys were in the audience. And the owner of the company was in the audience, and I was really drunk that night. And I think I threw a chair, and I don't drink anymore. So that
they saw the wrestling form come back.
Well, they liked my voice. They said, "Hey, have you ever been a ring announcer?" I said, "No, I've always wanted to do that." And they're like, okay, well, we're doing this show at Chansey Park in front of thousands of people. Would you like to do it? I said, yeah, sure. So I did it. Within a month, I was their lead play-by-play announcer, the host of their television show, and I did that for 2 years. So it wasn't until 2017 I finally... That's it. We're done.
So can we get like your best Let's Get Ready to Rumble, or what was
No, not right now. My voice is really raspy, and I don't want to end up just ruining my vocal cords. I sing at a church choir on the weekends, so...
He does it all.
No, that's not true.
What was your favorite line, though? Did you have one? Were you allowed to like get creative with it?
No, it was it was really weird doing the play-by-play. If you've ever seen a play-by-play announcer, whether it's basketball, football, that is such an intense job because you are talking the entire time. So when you say, oh, sunset flip, oh, cover 1, 2, oh, he barely kicks out. Look at that. The abs on him are beautiful. Are you supposed to cut that? Why that air? There has been, I mean, it was so, watching that action and calling it as that might be the hardest thing I've ever done in show business. That was really hard. And it was weird. The reason I left that promotion was because it was time to move on. And as an entertainer, you kind of just know. It's like, okay, I think I've accomplished everything I want to do here. Time to move on. Now see what happens next. And then next thing I know, I'm in Southern California hanging out with this guy.
Even I did Lucha Extreme a couple times.
Oh, that's right. I did bring him on to do it.
I was the color commentator for two of them?
Yeah.
And you were like, I like the hanging out with Motzky part, but the wrestling can go.
Yeah, the wrestling it just got weird. Like, it was, I just wasn't feeling it anymore. As a child, like, that's what got me into show business. Because I loved the WWE. It was just such an amazing experience to watch that as a kid. And as you see my eyes lighting up right now, totally. It's like, I'll go home tonight and just watch wrestling, old 80s wrestling, until I fall asleep. It's just what I do. You know, some people smoke marijuana, and I smoke marijuana and watch wrestling.
I caught something you said, though. It was kind of like it didn't... wrestling didn't serve you anymore, right? So it's kind of like you felt that you conquered that arena maybe, and so you wanted to close that chapter and go on to the next, right?
Right, but I mean, if WWE called tomorrow and said, hey, would you like to be a ring announcer or whatever, I'm like, yes, whatever it takes.
But it still makes sense because it still adds to, what you're currently doing today.
Yeah, it does, but when... I don't know if you've ever had that feeling that where you're just like, okay, I'm done with this. Like, it's time to change hats and let's do something else.
But for you, is that process kind of just in the flow kind of a thing? Like you just knew it? Or do you like need to have a plan for where you're landing next?
No, I just knew it. It's just the way I quit my job was the same way. Like I had known that I had talked to a very good friend of mine, Richard Villa, and he told me, he goes, you're just going to know. You're going to know because that alarm clock's going to go off. You're going to know that it's time to stop what you're doing and to stand up full time. The alarm clock went off at 4 o'clock and I turned it off. No, it went off at 2:30. I turned it off and I went back to sleep. I didn't even go to work that day. They called me and asked me where I was at. I said, I'll be in on Monday to talk about it. So I came in. I told them I quit. They go, give us a 2-week notice. I go, that's fine. I'll come back in 2 weeks and tell you I quit again. But I don't want to do this anymore. My last day, I went in. It wasn't even my last day. It was the next day, that Friday. I went in. I said, hey, I'm really done. Like, I put the keys in the safe already. I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. Just finish your shift. I go, oh, okay. And I just walked out. I was done. And that was the end of a 20-year career. And then I was already set to move to Southern California. and that was it. And now here I am.
Wow.
And just I still don't know what I'm doing, but it's.
And he moved to Southern California, not knowing anybody in the area that he moved to. No plans. He was just like, I just showed up.
And it was really funny because we went to the big comedy club there, and they basically told me, no, we don't want your show. There's nothing you can do for us. You're brand new in the area. Nothing you can do.
So did you have a moment of like, oh, I should turn back and groceries looks good? Or
I was just about to go apply at Ralph's, then I said, okay, hold on. So I went to the smaller comedy club, and they said, yeah, we'll give you a shot. And I sold it out the first time. And then 14 times after that, in a row, I sold it out. Then the big comedy club said, hey, buddy,
right.
We like you. So then I started doing shows over there, and we had consecutively 13 sellouts at Levity Live Oxnard in a row. No one's done that. Every month, 13. Till recently, till we moved back to the smaller club for the tapings.
So what's the Phil Medina formula? Because that must have been terrifying. I mean, to be kind of on your own, but you at the same time, like, the message was there. It's time.
It's step up. It's time.
I was going to say, if that wasn't there, you wouldn't have done
exactly.
it.
If I didn't have that drive to say, okay, I'm not going to fail. I've failed already. I've already done this stuff. I've already gotten my nose out of the way. It's time to go out and do this. I was going out like I was running for mayor, like shaking hands, kissing babies, giving comedy show tickets, just introducing myself to the community. Before I knew it, they were turning 100 people away at the door the first time. And now anytime we're at Levity, it's sold out. And that's not just Levity. I mean, that's the Ontario Improv. I had 3 headline nights there, sold out. Hollywood Improv, 3 headline nights, sold out. Where else have we been? I mean, Fresno, we were just there in August, and we sold over 1,000 tickets to see me. And it was like, you guys sure? You want your money back?
Now, how do you adapt to your different audiences, or do you not? Do you still keep everything all about you? And
yeah, it has to come back to us, because just like I said, that it's your fault if you blow it. It's also going to be on me to know what I need to do. There's no adapting, though. I'm going to tell you about me. He's going to tell you about him. Terrence Washington's going to tell you about it. That's another guy we work with, really good friend of ours. He's going to tell you about him. And if you like us, you're going to laugh. And if you don't, then just please eat your fries quietly.
Yeah. So you're speaking to the authenticity of being who you are,
right.
and they brought you there to be who you are. At the same time, you spoke about preparing and knowing your audience, right? And always being type A in that way. So how do you adjust when you're in a smaller state, or for the military, for instance?
Well, if you think about it, we're all the same. Like that's basically. I mean, we're all the same. We've been through the same stuff. Nobody's really that different. I mean, if you've been married a long time, then you know that some of the stuff I'm going to be talking about. And if you have kids, you know some of the stuff I'm going to say why I hate kids. I mean, do you have children?
I do.
Okay, how old are your kids?
I'm laughing already. Get me out of the gun. The 15, 10, and 10.
Okay, so you got young adults living with you. Got like almost voters. And do you have kids?
I don't have kids.
Okay. Do you like kids?
Sometimes.
I don't have kids. I hate kids. And I just don't know. I just don't like them because they're little jerks.
Well, yeah, and you can give them back at the end of the day. That's great.
No, even if you, no, I think that's kidnapping. It's, I have 2 nieces I love very much, but are also very, very, they're very sweet. And if you come to one of my shows, they're very bossy too. And little kids have no filters. And they will tell you, like I thought it'd be a great idea to rent a smart car and to take my niece driving up and down the PCH, and she told me I would look like Donkey Kong from Mario Kart. How am I not supposed to grab that child and kick her like right through the forks? How do you do that? But it's so those are the things. Like if I'm gonna sit there, if I'm in El Paso, Texas, or if I'm in Denver, Colorado, we're gonna relate. We're gonna relate because I'm not gonna talk about your politics. You're not gonna hear about what I feel. I never talk about that. you're just going to know, you're going to learn to love me. And that's it. And if you don't, then I'm sorry, but there's no refunds on the tickets.
That's awesome.
So it's nice. It's fun though. If you're not having fun, then it makes it hard, you know? I mean, then you might as well just get a 9-to-5 job. Not that I don't respect people with 9-to-5 jobs. I think we need that. You got to make the world go round. But what does that mean? Does that mean like 10 minutes before he calls the police?
Kidnapping. Don't mention CPS and kidnapping.
We just want all of our listeners to feel like they're really in the room with us
color code
today.
system here.
Yeah, it's like that was
red.
a yellow card. Like you know about soccer. I know what a yellow card is, dude. Like
Get 2 of those.
what happens? Are we getting out of here? I played soccer as a kid.
Did
for
you?
like a day, and I told my mom, "There's a lot of running in this," and that's when she was like, "I know, Gordo. That's why we put you here." And yeah, that was the last of that. I faked an injury, and I was done.
When I was a kid, I wanted to play baseball, and my mom's like, "Oh, I was a chubby kid," and she's like, "That's too much running," so she put me in soccer. And I was like, "What? That doesn't make any sense." So I played soccer for a couple of years.
You did it for a couple of years?
I did it for 6 years, I think.
I played 15 years.
Yeah.
Soccer, yeah.
You guys played too hard. I used to just stand in one place. If the ball came, I kicked it. I was like a foosball thing, you know?
We've only seen our producer, to our listeners, run down the hallway laughing at that one.
Oh, yeah, because I was just like 15 years of running. You sound like my grandmother.
Who was chasing you? Yeah.
La Migra.
No, yeah.
Ice was chasing her. They never caught her. She's in Texas.
But you mentioned a very important thing, Phil, which is having fun at what you do and what you're passionate about.
Right.
And how do you, maintain that balance between being driven, being focused, always improving, and the self-critical aspect, and then also keeping it that you're enjoying your experience?
I'm working towards something. Goals. I have goals. I don't believe in dreams. I believe in goals. You set your goal, and that's what I'm working towards. I just said it. I got 2 nieces, which I joke around about them a lot. But I love those 2 little girls. And I got one that's my sister's. They're both my sister's kids, but one of them is trying to go to UCLA. And I said, I'm going to try everything I can to pay for this. That's $65,000 a semester. So it's like
A semester.
yeah, that's a lot of money.
That is.
And you got 3 kids. Congratulations, sir. So that's something that so I'm driven. So and I'm so motivated, man. I mean, and basically because of him. He got me to that motivational level of positivity and the way everything works. I mean, every day I read a page out of The Secret, the book. Every day I do that. Every day I'm listening to Tony Robbins or Les Brown, and I'm just listening to motivational. And it's so funny because when you're in this business, it's almost like they're talking to you. Like exactly.
It is. I do that every morning, and I'm glad you said that. I listen to all those on YouTube, or I just put it in when I'm doing my workout, just so I can hear the positive affirmations and set my standard or my mood for the day.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing when positive affirmation. That's the biggest thing. And I do that too. And it's all because of him. He showed me how to do it. Because there was a time when I was sitting at the beach in Oxnard, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's not working out. And then I just thought, I was like, wait a minute. I can do this. I can make this happen. And then he came into my life. I started working with Terrence Washington. Then I started everything fell right into place. And the more I believed it, the more things happened. It was just one thing after another. And it's been steamrolling since 2 years.
Yep.
2 years now. So
that's interesting because even though you're type A, there's sometimes, high performers go through a transformative moment where it's like, I need help. I need something to help this process work. And, maybe you needed more of that connection or a team.
I think that type A personality was something that was delivered upon 2 years ago is when I really got serious, where I put this business before everything. There's nothing above it. And it sucks that I'm that way, but that's just the way it is. And I'm always going to be that way. From now on, because it was, again, why do I wake up at 4:30 every morning? Why do I do that? Why am I checking my emails? Well, at 4:30 in the morning, people are on Facebook at that time getting ready to go to work. I'm sending them a message. Hey, come to my show. They're like, Jesus Christ, it's 4:30 in the morning. I don't care. Come out. Why am I looking at like different venues? Why am I doing this? I'm getting a jump before everybody else. That wasn't always the case. I used to use alcohol so much. I had an issue with cocaine and pills, and he's like, "Are you still on cocaine?" No, but it was those were things that were like, I was in the party aspect of the whole thing. You can't make money doing that. You can't be successful doing that, and stopped all that. Moved out here, met him, and then everything has been going like just amazing. And I don't think I'll ever stop being that guy.
That's incredible. But those are not small shifts. I mean, what would you say to someone who's out there who's struggling with, getting a little bit too heavy into the partying aspect?
Run out of money first. You know what? If you really want to do this, and you really want to take this serious, you performing in little city plays and you're partying all the time, or you performing at little bar shows, but you're partying all the time, stop and just have tunnel vision and focus straight ahead and stay in your own lane. Don't worry about what other people are doing. And
find out your why. Why are you going to do it? Why are you going to change? That's the key, I think, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. See, that's the
right
second time.
Yeah, I know.
That is the second time I've seen those cards.
They're almost outside. So we're gonna run.
Yeah, no. What are you taking? No.
Yeah, why do you have a card that says help? No, man. Yeah, and Mochi's right. Find your why. Why do you? And you know all this stuff already.
Oh yeah.
Find your why. And here's the greatest thing. I found out what my why is. I'm my why. I'm my why. Yes, I want to pay for college for my niece to go to school, and yeah, I want to accomplish a bunch of stuff, but I'm my why. I am the reason why I'm getting up every morning to become successful. It's me. It's because I know where I was, and now I know where I'm at and where I'm headed. So that became my why. And if you can live like that, then you can accomplish anything.
So have you read the book Find Your Why? Have you guys?
No, I haven't. Have you read that book?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, so it's great that you bring it up, because it's been on the Richard Liston's reading list. It's got Simon Sinek, who did Start With Why, and then he's got Find Your Why. And so it's interesting how it goes from being this kind of personal meaning thing into like getting deeper into, why do you do this for people? Because it is such a gift. I'm thinking about before you got here today, and I'm like, man, I can't do what you do. You know what I mean? Like my why is talking to people and getting a deeper understanding about what motivates and drives them. But right. To do what you do, to be able to give that gift to people, to break down whatever their story is about having kids or being parents, whatever their same old is. I mean, it is a gift to alleviate pressure, stress, and bring joy.
Yeah, I mean, it is. For me, it's like more. There's nothing better than seeing somebody laugh. I mean, I had a lady in Hollywood not too long ago. She told me that her mom really enjoyed me, and if I would take a picture with her mom. And I said, and her mom was just laughing. I saw him in the front row, just having a great time. Then I found out the mom had Alzheimer's. So that was like, wow, to be able to, it wasn't an issue at the time for her to have Alzheimer's, just laughing and having such a good time. Because I guess it was something new that they were starting to deal with. And to me, that's just that is amazing to be able to have that. That's really cool. So, yeah, to be able to make them forget about their issues for that hour or 45 minutes, whatever it is, that's a very sweet thing to do. Have to be able to do.
Indeed. How about for you, Motski?
Likewise, I was the same with you. Like I told you, I do online radio. I used to love to interview people and find out their whys and why they do what they do. Doing comedy, it's also amazing to see people laugh. So instead of interviewing one person and getting their why, I'm able to make 500 people laugh at the same time. So I kind of like comedy. I'm getting into the comedy side better.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's all about connection, right?
Absolutely.
So they're giving us the 2-minute warning here on the show. So tell us a little bit about what you guys are up to. I see the Solid Kings, what your new venture you guys are launching out on, and how people can get a hold of you and connect to your joy more.
It's really easy if you look up at Comic Phil Medina or
Monsky 805.
You can see what we got going on. We just recently we were hired by KZAA 96.5 FM in Santa Barbara to be the new morning show, the Philomonski Show, which is on iTunes right now. We'll be moving over to KZAA 96.5 in Santa Barbara starting January the 7th.
Yes.
They can hear that. Or if you follow us on Instagram, you'll see that we are very busy. And if there's anything ever we can do to help you guys out, we'll definitely do it.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Amazing. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, sir, for having us.
The fact you're a friend of Citric and already that our guests are helping each other, it's like, now
We're
I
a
got
big family now.
Yeah, exactly. Now I got to go out and do something even more uncomfortable.
Yeah, let's get Richard up on stage.
Let's do it.
That's it. Yeah.
I say let's do it. I'll be at the Brea Improv on February 12th, headlining that night. Why don't you guys come out? And we'll see. Maybe we can see what you got.
See how you can embarrass us? That's great.
Yes.
Just don't sit in front.
Yeah, please. Just in front.
Absolutely. Well, it's a joy having you today. For all our listeners, thanks for being here in our new location. We're going to have a special guest next Monday. We'll let our social media experts surprise you with that. We'll be here Mondays in studio, 6 p.m. You can find us Facebook/Richard Listens, iTunes, or Spotify. And send us off, Caitlin.
Yes, no, thank you guys so much for being here. I love how much you talked about personal connection and how much I can relate to just being in entertainment and or just being a human. And it's so great to have great, successful people like yourselves on our show to share your stories. So thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
And you, of course, can
Yeah.
find me at KitKate on Instagram and CaitlinPatriciaWeiler.com. And always a pleasure to be on Richard Listens.
Thank you. And thanks for your service, Moski.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care, everybody.
Take care.
And we're out.